Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today I've got something rather exciting to show to you. So, I've been granted access to the newest build of the Old Realms mod. This is the Warhammer Fantasy conversion mod for Mount and Blade Bannerlord. Something which a public release date hasn't been revealed just yet, but they did say that it is at the end of August, so I'm assuming it's very soon. The devs also stated in my chat as I was streaming yesterday on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges that it was very soon. So, what does this mod do? Well, it converts Bannerlord into the Warhammer Fantasy world. It's slowly been updating and getting larger and larger. Originally, we had the Empire and the Vampire counts. Now, the Bretonians and Musalon are playable. These are new faction cultures. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the motions and show you what new stuff is available because it's really impressive. Obviously, you want to start making your character, go through the motions. Keep in mind that as you go through the motions, your starting profession, which is the very last thing, is what your class will be. So if you want to use magic, for example, you'll want to become a damsel. If you want to be a chivalrous knight, you'll want to pick a knight errant and go from there. It's actually quite cool. Obviously not as many options as you would get in vanilla Bannerlord, but that's because the main stuff when it comes to skill points and so on happens in-game. So yeah, there's a lot to do here. You see there's a bit of options there because there's a few things that isn't available to vanilla Bannerlord. And it gets pretty cool. I've been playing this for a lot. Put it this way, I have not slept and I am freaking tired, but I'm gonna go play some more after this video. But the main thing is that a lot of new territory has been added. A big chunk of land from Musalon all the way down to Carcassonne. Paravon is in there, Bordelot, a lot of places that you know from Fantasy Bretonnia are in here. Obviously, there's some things which are obviously missing. We have to wait for future updates, like for example, Athaloran and some Orc territories. But we've seen on Dev Diaries that stuff is progressing. The map is freaking huge now, put it this way. It takes a while to get from, say, Musalon all the way to Castle Drakenhof. There is a lot of areas to cover, and it is just absolutely freaking awesome. This is the Warhammer game I've been waiting for, and it's a conversion mod, funny enough. But yeah, you'll be able to play the usual stuff of vanilla Bannerlord, right? So usual mechanics and so on. There's a lot of stuff that's been added, so keep that in mind because it gets a little bit interesting. Just in case you've never played the currently live update of this mod, yeah, there's necromancy, there is magic, there is so much cool stuff. But obviously, when you're playing as a new faction, there are a bunch of new units, right? So we're going to have to talk about Bretonians, because it's not a large roster. It's very much like the tabletop style, where you'll be able to go through Peasant Levy and upgrade them to Yeoman, Men-at-Arms, all the usual stuff that you could actually remember from the tabletop. You get a decent amount of options there, and obviously you get the horsemen, right? At the end of the day, this is Bretonnia. You're expecting a bunch of knights. So if you go through the nobles, you'll be able to start getting Errant Knights, Knights of the Realm, Questing Knights, and finally Grail Knights, which are very strong, by the way. I've got 2 of them running in my current campaign that I've been streaming, because, yeah, I mean, you want to have as much damage as possible. It's pretty big for a small nation, and obviously things might change in the future as things get larger, because the whole of Bretonnia isn't in here just yet, and the map is going to get larger. Keep in mind, it's supposed to encompass the old world itself, so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to come out. So one thing that's really new is a system known as careers. This is something that adds into your skill points and so on. You'll find that in your normal page, and you just click on careers on the top right hand side. Not every class has it at the moment. So yeah, the Bretonian Knights do. I think the Damsels also do too. You just have to experiment, but these are the ones that you're going to be playing with the most at the moment, I think, when this goes live, which, yeah, works as extra skill points, but it gives you the progression feel that you're becoming further as a Grail Knight, for example. You're starting off as a Errant Knight and then pushing your way forward. It's something that you need to deal with as getting renowned, so obviously it's not going to be very quick to progress there unless you get into some big battles. That's obviously dependent on you. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I love the idea of this. I feel like it adds in a lot of class fantasy, turning Bannerlord into a bit more of an RPG rather than just mostly sandbox, and I think it complements that fairly well. The fact is that a lot of stuff here complements it fairly well because you get a lot of interesting and unique stuff. One thing which is very new, and unfortunately I don't have too much footage of it because Shadowplay was being absolutely bizarre today, but it's the overhaul of tournaments. So Tournaments, as we know, can be 1 versus 1, group of 4 versus 4 versus 4 versus 4, all the usual stuff. This is a jousting tournament. Literally, yeah, you joust. If you end up missing or nobody gets down, then it will send you back and reset your position so you can joust again, or at a certain point you can just end up fighting with sword and board, sometimes on foot, sometimes on horse. It was absolutely freaking insane. There's so much to this mod, it's not just that. There are random events that can pop up. Sometimes it's a traveling merchant. Sometimes it's actually something completely different. Like, say, for example, some like bards, yeah, people sing. There's a song which is I'm not going to put it here just in case it gets copyright struck, but Country Roads but as Bretonians. It was absolutely bizarre, but in a hilarious way more than anything. There are other events, like maybe you're traveling and someone's cart broke down, a fortress is sighted, you came across a pond, you can go hunting, you can camp with your troops. It is really, really cool. These are events that will pop up randomly and just give you that feeling of, yeah, you're in a living, breathing world. And they're incredibly varied from what I've been able to see. The Bretonian ones are obviously linked to the area of Bretonnia, but if you go to, say, for example, the Empire, you might get something different. I'm not too sure how many events are here. Right now in the build that I'm playing, they're a lot more common than they should be, but that's because it's a tester thing. This is the one that the devs use. It's those little details that add in a bunch of things just to make you feel more immersed that you're in the Warhammer Fantasy setting and you're here just causing as much trouble as possible. Because let's be honest, no matter how you end up being as a chivalrous knight, you're going to try and become a warlord, aren't you? There's loads of things across the map, like for example the Shrines of the Lady, where you'll be able to pray and get up your skill for faith. It's kind of cool. It just adds a little bit more flavor, especially as a Bretonian knight. You want to be able to pray at any given opportunity because that's what they do, right? Again, on the tabletop, you used to give your turn away to the other player, so you'd be able to pray and get a nice little buff. And yeah, things like this, it just really adds to it. I must say, like yesterday I was streaming, and I was going to do a usual 6-hour thing, but I ended up doing 10 hours because the modders got in contact and were like, hey, do you want to play this now? I was like, yes! It was really, really fun, and the fact is that just the more I played, the more I wanted to go for it. There's so much to it. There's loads of items. There's literally just so much to give you that feeling that you're playing as a member of the Warhammer Fantasy world. There's obviously a few items that you won't be able to equip, or at least I've not been able to find, like the cornate armor and stuff like that, but it looks absolutely incredible. There's obviously some things that the NPCs have that you won't be able to have. You never know for the future, because eventually there will be playable Chaos Warbands and stuff like that, so it's all a matter of time. The mod itself does not get frequent updates, but it's because the updates themselves are, well, absolutely massive. It must also not be too easy to being able to mod something like this, especially since Tale Worlds do very frequent updates to their own game, which can, of course, break games, break mods. It's one of those things. Obviously not throwing any shade at Tale Worlds, they're doing a fantastic thing keeping updated. They're actually updating their games more than a lot of other studios. Let's be very, very honest there. There's custom scenes too. Like, so for example, if you go into a Bretonian castle, you'll be able to really enjoy a look of Bretonnia, see a map of the old world, which is absolutely gorgeous. Loads of heraldry around all the areas. I just have to cuddle around quite heavily here. It's Shadowplay. I don't know what's going on. For some reason, it's just not recording Bannerlord too well. It's doing perfectly fine on Total War Warhammer, but yeah. I mean, yeah, these things do happen. These programs are kind of volatile, especially when they get updated and something breaks. That's probably what's done it. One thing that you're going to notice, because this is Warhammer after all, you're going to see big wars right from the very beginning. This is a Mousillon army attacking Bordelot, and yeah, this is literally within a few days of starting a campaign. Already 1,000 troops are going down, and it's something kind of common. You will see this around everywhere that's already been implemented, like 1,000 troops already marching on here, or for example, Talabecland going in to attack Altdorf and taking over that. The vampire counts taking over Averland, which is something that's been happening in my campaign. There is so much going on. It's really gives you that feeling that it's Warhammer, right? There's always going to be war. Unless you're me and you're streaming and you're trying to get into a big battle and everyone just decides to declare peace. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, I actually really like what I've seen here. Kind of weird that the Bretonians didn't jump in to defend the city, but then again, the city is actually holding off quite well. Obviously, archers versus a bunch of skeletons and so on is going to be a lot easier. And then at a certain point, Yeah, some Chaos Marauders decide to attack me. Now say that you want to play as Bretonnia, but you want to be a bit more evil. Well, why not play as Musalon, a brand new culture which allows you to explore the darker side of things. Something that a lot of people wanted on the tabletop as a fully official army. You never know with Warhammer the Old World though, you never know, it would be great. So, yeah. This is basically Dark Bretonnia, where you'll be able to either become a Dark Knight, or get yourself a vampire, or become a necromancer. It very much depends. It's really cool. It fits with the whole idea of, well, this is the dead dukedom, right? This is the area where so much bad happens in Bretonnia. Well, I mean, a lot of bad happens in Bretonnia, but you know what I mean. A lot harder, especially since there's going to be creatures moving around, spirit hosts, skeletons, all the different like. And it adds into a lot of flavor here, because, yeah, if you want to play as the Black Knight, why not? If you want to play as a Necromancer, do that too. There's a bunch of units involved also, so you'll be able to get your own different styling. So you can decide, oh, I want to be a Necromancer, I want to be a Blood Knight, because you've got the option to change if you want to be a Von Carstein or a Blood Knight too. It allows you to have a little bit of theming, with the Blood Knight having its own career path also. Yeah, this is absolutely phenomenal. It adds in so much there. It is a very dangerous location, I will tell you, if you want to start there. There are loads and loads of cultists. There are loads and loads of problems. If you're a normal Bretonnian, if you're one of the living, you will take damage there. Your living units will take damage too. It's one of these really, really interesting things about it. There are so many units in this mod. Keep in mind that there are a few things listed that aren't really in-game just yet, but there's a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's stuff that's already been added, like the Chaos Portal, which is pretty difficult to fight into, believe me, at least with a Bretonnian army of horsemen. There is a lot that you can play around with here. There's a lot of replayability already. We've only just 4 cultures at the moment. There's going to be more in the future. The devs have been quite outspoken that they want to do as much of the old world as possible. So, yeah. This is going to be great. If you want to see it more in action, I'll be live once again on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges a little bit after this video goes live, so pop by and you can see a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be trying to form my own dukedom, so that's going to be kind of cool. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below and start a bit of a discussion, as, yeah, I imagine that the devs will be checking out comments and so on to see what people think. I don't know, again, exactly when the release date is happening. The devs haven't made that public yet, but it should be relatively soon, and I imagine a lot of you guys are really excited for this. So, yeah, have a good day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.